Pick you. This message paid for in part by Mississippi Tourism. Rob Sanjay, WGSO.
In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we caught the bloody British in a town in New Orleans.
Welcome to the Battle of New Orleans Radio with your host David Abedy and Nathan Lawrenson on WGSO 990 AM and at WGSO.com. They're fighting for freedom and discussing local, national, and international issues that affect all of us here in this great city. Questions or comments for your host or their guest. The number to call is 504-556-9696. And now, here are your hosts of Battle of New Orleans Radio, David Abedy and Nathan Lawrenson.
Hey, everybody. You're listening to the Battle of New Orleans radio show. I'm David Abedy, and with me is Mr. Nathan Lawrenson of TheDailyResistance.com. Remember to check out MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com for the latest articles. Nathan, you've been you just did an article on a topic we're going to be talking about tonight. What are we getting into?
Well, there's a big, massive military drill taking place starting July 15th. It is called Jade, Helm 15, and it stretches from Southern California all the way to, I believe, Florida now I believe it's up to 10 states now. But it started out originally as 7. And in this drill, in this original pamphlet, it listed several states as hostile, being Texas 1, Utah 1, and Southern California as the third. And this drill is supposed to take place for 2 months, from July 15th all the way to September 15th. So, when they released this, I believe it was in March when the documents got released. Ever since then, there's been mass sightings of military equipment, vehicles, paramilitary activity going on. So really, we just want to cover that. And with the drill, look, I'm not saying this drill. A lot of people are saying this drill. Oh, this is it. This is going to be martial law. No, this is not what I'm saying here. I'm saying they are preparing for something, and they're going to. Let me back up a little bit.
Well, isn't it weird that they're doing this on training in American cities? They're not doing this on Army bases. They're not doing it in these set up areas that imitate a desert scenario or something like that. They're in American cities and doing this covertly, trying to blend in with the population.
Right, and special operations from Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and they're going to in Texas. I believe it's 18 towns that they're going to infiltrate in plain clothes. And so
they're trying to blend in. They're trying to blend in with the American people. They're not trying to blend in with, say, some city in Iraq, Iran or Afghanistan or something like that.
No, and this is what got people alarmed. And really, the one thing that gets me alarmed is in all of their documentation in the last 30 years, really, the American people are the target. It is not ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any Muslim extremist group. We can go back to Rex 84, which got leaked in 1987 during the Iran-Contra trials when Senator Jack Brooks was interviewing Oliver North. And Rex 84 was an internment program to round up people crossing the border. But if you really start looking in, they had 2 other programs later that was spinoffs of Rex 84. That was Operation Cable Splicer and Operation, I can't remember the other one. But anyway, there was another operation, and they go into more detail talking about political dissidents, talking about anti-war groups, talking about militias. And then after that, it's just spawned off. In 1991, they had the civilian inmate labor program. They just.
I just encourage people to look up then Rex 84, YouTube it, and you'll see a congressional hearing. Aren't they? They're interviewing Oliver North.
Oliver North, correct.
Then Congressman's asking him about the suspension of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And they asked that they not talk about this on the floor of the committee. They want to go talk about it behind closed doors.
Right. And ever since then, just the rhetoric has really just increased. And in 1994, there was the 29's Palm survey that got released. It was a survey that Lieutenant Commander Ernest Guy Cunningham gave on May 10th, 1994 at Palms Naval Base in California. And it was a survey, and if you can look, you can go to the Daily Resistance right now and get all this information. You can go to number 46 of that survey, and it says, the U.S. government declares a ban on the possession, sale, transportation, and transfer of all non-sporting firearms. 30-day amnesty period is permitted for the firearms to be turned over to local authorities. At the end of this period, a number of citizens groups refuse to turn over the firearms. You consider the following statement. I would fire upon U.S. citizens who refuse or resist confiscation of firearms banned by the U.S. government. I strongly disagree, agree, strongly agree, or no opinion. You know, and just ever since that, they've had more. They had the MIAC report that come out in 2009 where it was against modern militias. And in the MIAC report, they talk about Christians, sovereign citizens, if you believe in a North American Union conspiracy, if you believe in Federal Reserve, all of that. And then in 2010, they had the internment and resettlement operations, FM 3-39.40, which I have a copy of it right here, the actual copy from the Department of Defense. And if you read through this, it is mind-blowing. You go to Chapter 3, they talk about PSYOPs operations and all of this, re-education. And, you know, when it got released, they said it was for warfare overseas, but everywhere in this manual it says CONUS, Continental United States.
I did an article myself. I did it a while back. I attended this Sheriff's Citizens Academy in Jefferson Parish with Newell Norman. The article's on metronow.com. It's in the upper left-hand corner. It's called A Citizen's Plea, A Sheriff's Response. I basically outlined some of the things that Nathan's touching upon, but I've also linked to different articles and YouTube videos giving more explanation. But basically, I was hearing my sheriff reiterate the talking points of the Department of Homeland Security, and also, you know, being that Al-Qaeda was not their core problem, was not really going to be a threat to the United States, but they were more concerned about domestic issues. And then you take into consideration all these articles and reports that we've seen about the sheriff's department in Indiana admitted to the increasing militarization of domestic police departments, and that it was intended to partially deal with returning veterans who are now being seen as homegrown terror threats. He went on to say that returning veterans have the ability and knowledge to build IEDs and defeat law enforcement techniques. While they're focusing on constitutionalists and veterans, we've got Al-Qaeda, a report from Judicial Watch, ISIS, the new term, the new brand name, is 8 miles off south of the Mexican border. Why are we bombing people in Yemen? And apparently we can't send a drone over the Mexican border and go bomb them. So this is a compilation of all kinds of information, and just the fact that they're going on with this live drill in the United States, going across basically it's the South and the Southwest. It's just raising flags, and Nathan and I have been following this rhetoric for a number of years now, and this is just this is the biggest drill that they've done as of yet in the in the continental United States. And our question is, you know, why are they trying to blend in with American citizens when aren't they supposed to be focusing on fighting, 50 wars overseas with these terrorists and these people in black masks beheading folks? Instead, they're trying to blend in with Jane and John Doe. What are they wearing? They're wearing their John Deere hat and their flannel shirt, walking down the street of Main Street of America. And how is that protecting anybody? They're gearing up for something. This is a domestic operation that they're preparing for, and we're just asking the question: what's going on?
Yeah, no doubt. You bring up John Deere hats. Well, 2 years ago, or was it 3 years ago now? DHS purchased $2 million worth of paper targets called no hesitation targets, and every target was just American citizens, a pregnant woman, a guy wearing a John Deere hat, a little kid. It was never Al-Qaeda or any real terrorist. My
mind is spinning right now because you mentioned the no hesitation targets, And then I thought, what about the 2.5 billion rounds of hollow point ammo? And this is something that's not even allowed in NATO or in foreign wars. You're supposed to use full metal jacket type ammo. This is not target shooting. We touched upon this when we were talking to Joe Bannister. They're arming every federal agency, the IRS, everybody, the post office. Everybody's got automatic weapons. They're gearing up. They got the MRAPs. They're getting this money from the federal government, and they're basically federalizing local police and local sheriffs to take orders from them instead of upholding their oath to the Constitution, respecting the Bill of Rights. What happened to posse comitatus? What happened to the idea that we're not supposed to have American troops within the citizenry?
Yeah, when we come back, David, we're going to be talking to a guest, Pete Lenteri, a former Marine in Arizona Border Recon. He's got a group called Counter Jade Helm, and we're going to see if we can get to the bottom of this drill there.
Living in the land of the blind, deaf, and the dumb. From day one, your sick negative methods begun. We built your palaces, but got left in the slums.
As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
Hello, I'm Cynthia Clark, your WGSO food reporter. Join me Thursdays for the Cuisine Report at 5. Tune in to discuss the best, latest, newest, and happening food news. This Thursday, I'm live at the historic Morning Call in City Park from 5 to 7. Join me for free WGSO food tasting of alligator sausage, red beans, crawfish etouffee, and more. The first 20 to come see me gets free beignets, and 2 lucky WGSO listeners will get tickets to Ship Island excursions on a luxury yacht.
What are you doing to stop traffic when your business is ready to wow the pants off customers? Visit Sir Speedy. We produce quality signs, posters, banners, and more that are just the trick for trade shows, promotions, events, and product launches. Whether you're taking it to the street, the floor, or the counter, bigger is always better. For more information or to get a quote, go to SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
Do you have a heart for people? If you do, Grace at the Green Light needs you for an innovative homeless outreach. We need volunteers. We need volunteers for water distribution 7 days a week, 2 hours a day. Grace's Meals with Love. We need someone for food prep, food serve, cafe socialization and engagement. Grace at the Green Light needs you. For more information, go to www.graceatthegreenlight.org.
Alex Jones. I have believed from the very beginning these are real grassroots uprisings all over the Middle East, North Africa. But when the globalists came out and bragged that they were behind El Baradi and others and are trying to take credit for it, clearly they knew that these rebellions were coming, so they triggered it to make sure their people got in. So I think everybody who's been looking at this from different perspectives has been right.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones.
Weekdays at 1 on WGSO.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com. Hey everybody, you're listening to Battle of New Orleans Radio. I'm David Abity, and with me, as always, is Mr. Nathan Lawrenson of The Daily Resistance. Folks, check out TheDailyResistance.com and MetroNow.com. Don't forget to check out the BattleNola.com. We've got the podcast there you can share with your friends and family. We've also got a YouTube page, Battle Nola Radio. Nathan, we have a guest coming on. His name is Pete Lenteri, and he founded the the Counter Jade Helm Facebook page, and he's a Marine, former Marine, and what else?
Arizona Border Recon.
All right. Do we have Pete on the line? Pete, how you
guys doing?
We're amped up, man, because we're excited. We are excited to talk about this subject because it involves us directly. We live in the United States. This stuff is going.
Yeah, we're busy organizing how we're gonna respond to what they are attempting, and that's pretty much what I'm focusing on right now.
All right. So what are you doing to cover this?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to put teams in the field during the event, and they're just going to be civilian attire. You know, we're not going out there in tac vests and full battle rattle and rifles or anything. This is strictly a counter-surveillance mission. I heard you guys talking about what Jade Helm could be, what it might not be. Either way, personally, I believe this is just a military exercise. What they are practicing for, we don't know. So my goal is to just make sure we're out there monitoring as best we can the activity that goes on off of the military installations and be ready for whatever.
Right.
That's all we can do. Just like the revolution, the other side had to shoot first. We can't be going out there July 15th, rounding up military guys that are trying to practice. Now, I agree they shouldn't be doing this in the public street, but, they have to make the first move. We can't.
Don't you think that this is a way to condition the American public to get used to these military drills and having military on the streets? I've seen videos of them doing practice drills in Fort Lauderdale where they got people in single file line. I've seen them in California where they're blocking off streets. I mean, when has this happened where you've got an armed National Guard in the streets with their rifles in their fatigues blocking traffic? What are they having a parade they're practicing for down there or what?
We all know the average American doesn't pay attention nowadays. And if you took a SWAT member in military garb and you took a special operations soldier in military garb, the only difference would be the patch they're wearing.
Right.
That designates what unit they're in. We would know to look for that. The American people don't, the overwhelming amount of American people. So, yeah, they're making the police more militaristic looking. I don't know why. A lot of people that refuse to think coherently bring the whole, internment camp issue into it. And you want to read everything you can, that's fine. But for right now, it's like with the Walmart issue. There's no connection between Walmart and Jade Helm yet. We could read the stories, but we have to maintain our objectivity and say, okay, this is what they want to do. Well, we're going to watch, and we're going to be prepared.
I hear you.
If something does go down, we can have a response.
Look, I don't think that this is anything more than a widespread drill, but the fact that they're doing this on the streets of Main Street of America, and they're not doing this on their Army base. They're preparing. Usually, doesn't the military prepare for situations that are going to be what they're going to face in the future? I mean, what is that Fort AP Hill,
in
where it's built like an American city, and now they're actually practicing on American streets. They're preparing for something in America, correct?
There is a possibility. We all know what went down in Mumbai, India. We all know that there's at least 30 to 40 Islamic training camps all connected to the Pakistani group Jamaat al-Fuqua. All right. I'm from New York. We have one of them called Islamburg in upstate New York. It could be that that's what they're training for, because right after Mumbai, the NYPD selected 5,000 officers to get trained on M16s and M4s. And they were designated as, emergency service to respond to this kind of attack, because we've never had that in this country, a big coordinated attack like that. Could be that that's what they have intel that is coming. It could be that they're gearing up for a natural disaster with these Walmart closings, and they're going to have pre-planned staging areas. Problem is, we don't know. We won't know until the actual events start going on. And all we can do until then is organize as best we can. I mean, I'm creating networks in Utah, Colorado, Arizona, Texas. They're all going to be independent of each other. They're not going to be under a unified command. This way, if it is what people think it is, the command structure can't get wiped out, and then people don't know what to do. So all we could do really is organize and be ready. That's what we're going to do. We're going to monitor. We're going to be ready for anything. We're going to be in touch as best we can and be level-headed about it, though.
Yeah, right. No doubt. And we commend you for doing that, Pete. It's awesome. The American people need to we need to stand up, and we need to do it peacefully. We need to do it vigilantly, and I'm not trying to be an alarmist one bit. We need to be level-headed, but it's hard not to make some of these connections when they know these Islamicists are operating here. They knew there was a base 8 miles on the other side of the Mexican border. They allow this. We give ISIS weapons. We give ISIS funding. ISIS and Al Qaeda and these Muslim groups, most of them are they're used as the globalist destabilization base. And then in none of our government's writings do they target these people. They target us. That's just what has me so looking at this from a different perspective, because in all the manuals, I got one right here. It's the FBI Joint Counterterrorism Task Force from Phoenix. And it right-wing extremists says defenders of the U.S. Constitution against the federal government, or people against the UN. So they're not labeling these groups that could really, cause harm or, let off dirty bombs or whatever. That they're targeting us, and then they're training against us. And that's I don't know, man. That's why it's so easy for me to take the next step and really tie all this information in together. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but, they're surely training against American people, not an Islamicist threat.
Well, yeah, and you mentioned the Joint Terrorism Task Force. Now, up in New York, I created a group called the New York Mutual Assistance Group. And they put out a memo after the Millers killed the deputies or the police, I forget which one they killed in Vegas, and then you had the cop shooting up in Canada.
Right.
They put out this memo to watch certain people. Well, my group was named first in that. And then Oath Keepers, and then the 3 Percenters.
Pete, we got 30 seconds.
I had all 3 of those stickers on the back of my truck.
Yeah, man. I mean, how does that make you feel? We got 30 seconds. We're going to get back to this after this commercial break. But, Pete, I want to know, how does that make you feel to see these reports and then they're targeting you? You got these domestic terrorist bumper stickers on your vehicle.
And Pete being a veteran.
All right, folks, we'll see you in a minute. As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
This advertisement does not constitute an offer to sell a franchise. The offer of a franchise can only be made through the delivery of a franchise disclosure document.
Fresh Healthy Vending is a new company that is revolutionizing the vending machine business by filling them with healthy and natural foods. That's right. Protein and energy drinks, teas and juices, yogurts, fresh fruits and veggies, soy milk, natural cereals, granola bars. Can you imagine that? It's like having a whole food store in a machine. And you can get in on the ground floor by getting your own Fresh Healthy Vending franchise. You can have your own small business placing healthy food vending machines all over your area in places like schools and hospitals and businesses and airports and other high traffic areas. Locations that embrace the idea because, they make money too. Full training and support and assistance in acquiring locations. It's all about timing, folks. Pick up the phone, make the call to Fresh Healthy Vending, and get all the details on what could be your big life moment.
Get Fresh Healthy Vending franchise information now. Call 800-424-8282. 424-8282. That's 800-424-8282.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com.
This is the Blaze Radio News. I'm Tom Peace. Developments on the Yemen front as we hear from the Blaze Radio's Chris Barnes in Washington.
Iranian-backed Shiite rebels in Yemen now want UN-sponsored peace talks to end the fighting there, as the White House remains vague as to why a bolstered contingent of U.S. warships is off the coast of Yemen. It's widely reported that Navy sources say they're there to guard against Iranian arms shipments to the rebels, but President Obama says,
right now their ships are in international waters. There's a reason why we keep some of our ships in the Persian Gulf region, and that is to make sure that we maintain freedom of navigation.
Obama speaking there to MSNBC. Meanwhile, an Iranian lawmaker scolding Saudi Arabia for its airstrikes on the rebels, calling it a childish offensive. In Washington, Chris Barnes, The Blaze News.
More criticism of the Obama administration over the Iranian nuclear deal.
You can't trust the Iranians.
That's Republican Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina. Graham's point, the U.S. is beefing up warships in the Arabian Sea because the U.S. and the world does not trust Iran. So why would the administration trust Iran with a nuclear deal?
We're negotiating about their nuclear ambitions. We're about to give them $50 to $100 billion of money if there's a nuclear deal, and he's disconnected their behavior throughout the world. This is nuts. If you give the Iranians money, what do you think they'll do with it?
Graham speaking with Greta on Fox News. Brad James, The Blaze News.
Anger from the family of a shooting victim after the man accused of the killing goes on vacation. The Blaze Radio's Greg Moore reports.
The Oklahoma Reserve Sheriff's deputy who shot and killed a man is off to the Bahamas. Robert Bates is released on bond after pleading not guilty to second-degree manslaughter in the death of Eric Harris. The Harris family quickly criticizing the judge's decision to allow Bates to leave the country for a planned vacation.
This is news on the Blaze Radio Network. Truth lives.
This is Jeff Cruier with my commentary of the day. Fox News is reporting that the administration is considering giving the mullahs in Iran a $50 billion signing bonus for agreeing to their nuclear deal, which just postpones the inevitable of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. And this is a deal with a bunch of tyrants who are not to be trusted. And this is a deal with a country who is the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. And this is a deal with a country who is constantly yelling, death to America, death to Israel. So that $50 billion, would that go to helping their people? Would that go to providing services for the needy? It would go to exporting radical Islam, to funding terrorism, to building nuclear weapons. What a lame brain idea from an administration that's obsessed with doing a deal with Iran. Despite the warnings from Israel, despite the warnings from knowledgeable Iranian observers, it's not going to make the world safer. In fact, just the opposite. In the end, it'll introduce more nuclear weapons into the powder keg known as the Middle East. More info on this and the other hot topics of the day, check out ringsidepolitics.com.
This is Michael Savage. Give me 15 minutes and I'll give you America. I'm not only delighted, but I'm excited to be back on radio in New Orleans, the city I love most, right here on 990 AM WGSO. I love the Antiques District. You, the listener, demanded it, and your demands have now been met. Michael Savage and the Savage Nation return not only to New Orleans, but back on WGSO, 990 AM. Tune in weeknights from 9 p.m. to midnight for the Mike.
Hey, New Orleans, this is Sue May with the Cannon Hospice Health Hour. Join us to get the latest and most up-to-date health information here on WGSO.
Saturdays at 12 noon.
Hi, everybody. This is John Demers. Join me for Delicious Mischief New Orleans style every Saturday afternoon at 2 right here on WGSO 990 AM, New Orleans.
Hello, this is Coach Alan Dorito reminding you to get your kicks on the Russell Marina Grill's Monday Night Football Show, Monday nights at 7 p.m. on WGSO.
This the movement, what we doing, you already know. Mentally and spiritually expanding.
All right, everybody, you're listening to the Battle of New Orleans Radio. I'm David Abity, and with me, as always, is Mr. Nathan Lawrenson of The Daily Resistance. We have online with us Pete Lenteri of Counter Jade Helm. He started a Facebook group. And we also have Keith Johnson of CourageSowers.com. Keith, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
How you doing, man? I want to congratulate you on being an intelligence Minuteman and going out dirty bomb drill in Richmond, California. Can you tell us about this dirty bomb drill and what did you?
Yeah. Well, I heard about it. I mean, you got all this stuff with Jade Helm going on, and of course, dirty bomb drill. And I live about an hour and a half from the Bay Area. I'm up closer to the Sierra Nevadas. But then, then you hear stories, InfoWars with denied access. They couldn't get press credentials. So, I thought, well, I might as well just go out there because I didn't know what to expect, honestly. I thought they were going to actually have streets barricaded off, crisis actors laying around, medical, ambulance and stuff like that, cordon area off. If there was a terrorist dirty bomb, that's what you would be doing, right?
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Instead, the guy said what he said, but also it was a complete waste of money. They didn't have streets shut off. It was actually at a National Guard center, and it was in their yard. They had the yard cordoned off, and it was back there. And really all they were doing is getting in and out of hazmat suits. They were pretending to spray each other down like a decontamination, but they had a piece of empty hose that sprayed nothing. They were just sitting there wiggling it in front of the guy while the guy stood there. It was pretty ridiculous. And they had these young kids out there, and they were doing riot control. And I had my camera, and I just started filming. And right away, right when I got them on camera, you hear the guy say, "I am a sovereign citizen. I refuse to recognize you guys." And about 2 seconds later, the guards were given the order to charge forward, do like a crowd suppression thing.
So in a dirty, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but in a dirty bomb drill, you wouldn't see this kind of. I wouldn't think you'd see a crowd trying to get closer to the dirty bomb material. It looks like you said, it's crowd control, it's riot control, that sort of thing. And Pete, this is kind of what your group is doing. You're encouraging people to do this kind of intelligence work, gathering information on what's actually going on in these drills, and then we can get a better understanding of what Jade Helm is. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to have people in the field under the direction of a team leader who's going to be someone that's former law enforcement or military. The team leader is going to collect up the intel that these guys gather. They're going to upload it on our website. We have former military analysts, intel analysts that are going to review it, and then we're going to publish the verified intel. We're not going to publish a helicopter flying overhead because you don't know where it's coming from, you don't know where it's going to, and you don't even know if that helicopter is part of Jade Helm.
Right.
But our mission is to execute a large Patriot movement counter-surveillance operation over many states, and also we want to see how good these guys are going to be in detecting the teams attempting to infiltrate into our cities.
So both of you guys are advocating, the job that the journalists aren't doing. You're trying to gather more information, get a little bit deeper than what the Pentagon is saying, and with the I don't know who's putting out any information on this besides the piece of paper that said Texas was a hostile state. What was that, Nathan?
Yeah, that was the initial. I believe it come from Southcom there, out of Florida, I believe, or the Department of Defense. I can't remember. But, the mainstream media covering any of this. So, that draws for, that draws a lot of speculation as well. And the couple of times the mainstream media, I believe Fox covered it. Megyn Kelly, she covered it for a second, but, it was a big joke. But to me, it's not a big joke because we shouldn't have military on the streets practicing with or against civilians, period. We lived through Katrina. I remember a year after Katrina happened when we still had military on the streets. You know, I remember during Katrina when they confiscated 1,300 firearms in the high and dry areas, and they had military and police who said they would never do that. They would never. They were committed to the Constitution. But there's videos you can watch. The NRA put one out to where they kick in an old lady's home, break her arm, and steal a firearm. You know, so we lived through this with military on the streets in this country. So it really bothers me when I see or hear of any of these drills, especially something this large magnitude. If they got to have a drill, I mean, do it on their base. Go to Fort A.P. Hill. Go to North Carolina. Do not do it on our streets, man. These are our streets. Our streets, you know.
Well, if I could interject real quick, one thing I worry about too is there's also the possibility. Well, there's a lot of possibilities. This could be a complete psyop as well.
No doubt.
You know, you leak out a few things, you know, the alternative media starts running with it, and then if nothing happens, then what they do is they come out and they say, oh, look at these guys. They're all riled up. Look at them. They're crazy. Here they thought everything was going on. They thought it was going to be complete martial law, and it wasn't.
Pete, you have anything to say to that?
Yeah, and that's an element that we need to watch because that is a possibility. But right now, all we could do is organize, you know, put any kind of ego or differences aside, like what they're doing up in Oregon. You got a few different groups that are now under the direction of the Josephine County Oath Keepers up there. They established a chain of command. Okay? So all we could do right now is organize, work with each other, and then just film everything we see. But let's not jump to the wrong conclusions right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Keith, what were you saying? I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you getting at?
No. But I mean, we all know how it works too. You got COINTELPRO. You know, I mean, they even going back to the '60s. You know, they infiltrated the anti-war movement. They infiltrated the black movement. They infiltrated the KKK. I mean, they go in there, they disrupt, they leak information, they get people fired up. And all the time, too, they're also going to be looking at who's looking at them. It's going to be a big surveillance thing for them, too.
I hear you.
And it's going to be weird because I think they're going to be in smaller groups trying to blend in, so it's going to be kind of bizarre.
No,
I mean, sound like it's going to be full-blown military operations in the streets, so it's going to be, I don't know what to expect, to be perfectly honest.
I hear you. I just looking at the history. I mean, we've talked about it. I said it like 10 times already. They're planning in America to blend into American streets, to blend into the civilian population. And, you know, Pete, you brought up a good point about, you know, terror groups already being in the United States, and that could be a possibility. You know, say there's a false flag, say there's a real attack, you know, but our intelligence community is spending, you know, billions of dollars collecting, you know, my text message and yours, and they can't even analyze it. They're not doing real intelligence work. They're overloading their analysts.
Well, we had William Benny on, remember, and he was talking about the only reason that the intelligence agencies even exist now is just it's a giant pork projects. It's just to get more money.
Well, and then look at the militarization of the police. I mean, this is again just more federal money flying out the door, and it's just like, what can they spend it on to create a police state? It's benefiting this, you know, the folks who are selling them all this equipment,
the military-industrial complex.
So, okay, all right, we get it. You know, they want to spend money. They want to keep the people living in a state of fear. They want to keep this war on terror going. It's now come home to roost, and I think this is the message that we need to send to people. Is that look what's going on here. Yeah, we're hearing news about Yemen and who can, you know, and Syria and Russia and Ukraine and Iran and war all over the place. but look what's going on right here in the United States. And shouldn't this raise question marks in people's minds is going, what's going on and why are we going about it this way instead of, like I said, using intelligence, using the FBI. I mean, I've seen Judge Napolitano talk about patsies and basically the FBI in 26 of their busts, that 23 of them were basically given plans, given the monetary means, given the equipment or whatever to carry out a terrorist attack, and then nabbed at the last minute so they could say, hey, look at what we did to justify their existence. So if they're feeding it, if they're fueling it, and then trying to act like, hey, we're on top of it, I mean, that's a crime in itself.
Well, you look at the last terror plot that they said they spoiled, that guy in Kansas. Come find out the FBI was facilitating that one as well. And you go back to the underwear bomber, in 2009, 2010, I believe it was 2009, Christmas. Mm-hmm. And they walked him without any ID and got him on the plane. You know what I'm saying? And the law, thank God there was two attorneys, the Haskells, who spotted this, and testified against this, so they've been caught doing this over and over. They're facilitating this to use this to keep us in perpetual fear, to keep the military industrial complex going and growing and ever expanding.
Keith, what were you?
Well, the FBI, they were involved in the 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
Right.
I don't believe the official story of Oklahoma City.
Right.
And you can just keep going back further and further. But one thing I've been looking at, and usually when something like this goes on, what I do is I do start looking around what's going on around the world and kind of why would they be doing this. And what I'm noticing is Greece is about to fully collapse. And if you look at China, what China just did is they're dumping money into their system. And they're lowering the reserve for banks to loan money. So what that's telling me is China's economy is not the juggernaut that we're told it is.
Right.
And if you start having European nations collapsing and China starts slowing down, that is going to cause ripples that are like tidal waves because all these currencies are tied together.
Yeah, we could definitely talk about the economic issues, but I want to get back to Pete and talk about, before the break, we were saying, hey, how do you feel about having these reports, specifying veterans and these bumper stickers on your truck?
Well, as soon as I was handed the memo that New York DHS put out, I called the group attorney, and we had a meeting with up at State Police Headquarters in Albany. And the FBI was there, and New York State Police was there. And, my lawyer said, we want to know why you put a bunch of law-abiding citizens with no criminal records in this list. And the first thing State Police said to me was, well, that wasn't supposed to be made for public release. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously there's going to be, Oathkeeper law enforcement that are going to get that out to us. So now that you got the typical BS out of the way, what gives you the right to do that? And, of course, they're not going to answer. But my main reason, I'm not one that hides. I don't put a fake name on Facebook or anything. I've been on a watch list since January 2011. Every flight I've taken since then, I have to get a background check in the airport. And then once I'm cleared, usually about 45 minutes later, I go to do the TSA enhanced pat-down BS. I'm not one to hide. So I wanted these guys to know that I know what they're doing, and we ain't going to stop. And I told them flat out, you want to know what we're doing? Come to one of our training events, because all we do is train on being prepared.
Well, I hope that...
we're the kind of citizen you want out there. You want people that are going to react when something happens out in the public.
I hope you planted a seed in their minds, because that's what people need to do, is get with their local law enforcement and sheriff's departments and talk to them man to man and and let them know, they might need a different perspective. They're, in the forest, and sometimes they can't see the trees. So we've got online with us Pete Lenteri of the Facebook page Counter Jade Helm, and we've also got Keith Johnson of CourageSowers.com online with us. Nathan, you want to add anything? We got about 20 seconds before we go to break.
No.
Folks, remember to just stay tuned.
No, I'm looking at this one pamphlet I have, and if you have a "Don't Tread on Me" flag, you're a terrorist. If you have a Molon Labe flag, you're a terrorist. If you have an upside down flag, you're a terrorist. I mean, this is just ridiculous. David, you have a Molon Labe shirt on right now. You must be ISIS.
Must be. See you in a few minutes.
So you think you can tell?
As the corporate media dies, MetroNow.com and TheDailyResistance.com continue to give you a decentralized and independent take on the latest current events as well as historical reference to help you wade through the propaganda of the prostitute media. Our mission is to inform the people of New Orleans about the issues of freedom, health, world events, and much more so that we as a community can thrive in the 21st century. Only with an informed public will we truly be free and independent. So take a look at MetroNow.com or TheDailyResistance.com as your independent news source.
What are you doing to stop traffic when your business is ready to wow the pants off customers? Visit Sir Speedy. We produce quality signs, posters, banners, and more that are just a trick for trade shows, promotions, events, and product launches. Whether you're taking it to the street, the floor, or the counter, bigger is always better. For more information or to get a quote, go to SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
Hi, it's Marcel Lashover with Show Me the Money Show. Business owners, what if you got disabled or died tomorrow? How is your business going to continue? Do you have a plan for this to happen? If you have a partner, what if your partner passed away? At One Stop Financial Group, we can customize a plan to protect you and your partners if these things would happen to you. So call us at 504-708-1300 today, and you can sleep better tonight at www.oscig.com.
Join us Thursday night for Politics with a Punch. It's Louisiana's version of Politically Incorrect. Jeff Pruitt here. I serve as host of the festivities. We have a great panel, including actress Becky Allen, awesome comedians, Jefferson Parish Sheriff Newell Norman, and legendary LSU Hall of Fame coach Dale Brown. Tickets at the door at the Eiffel Society, 2040 St. Charles Avenue. Doors open at 6. The event begins at 7, but you can get discount tickets at ringsidepolitics.com. See you Thursday night.
Whether you are new to electronic cigarettes or an experienced vapor, you need to check out my good friend Anthony Kalisa over at Smoke Signals. Over 250 flavors of e-liquids and tons of hardware and accessories with 4 locations in Uptown, Baton Rouge, Slidell, and Hammond, and on the web at smokesignals.com. Mention that you heard this ad and get a 10% discount for your first visit. You can also call them at 504-298-3142.
Enjoy fresh fruit grown in your yard. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com delivers and installs fruit trees and fruiting vines to your home or condo. Proudly serving Kenner, Metairie, and New Orleans. Apples, apricots, blackberries, citrus, figs, grapes, peaches, pears, persimmons, plums, and raspberries. All the trees and fruiting vines are grown right here in South Louisiana. Check out the Fruit Tree Guide for more information and visit JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com today. It's a great time to plant. JohnnyAppleseedTrees.com.
About this piece of equipment is that if somebody is directing fire toward a team that's trying to get in, they safely can pull right up to a front, take enemy fire, and still try to address a threat without being fear of getting shot.
So I'm thinking that is totally appropriate in Iraq, but what kind of a situation in the U.S. would you see that happening?
I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition. I mean, we've got a lot of constitutionalists and a lot of people that stockpile weapons, a lot of ammunition.
All right, folks, that's a video from, where is that, Nathan, Washington State, something?
Yeah, Spokane.
Spokane. If you YouTube Police Prepare for War with Gun Owners, Preppers, and Constitutionalists, it's a 2-minute video. And basically, this citizen asks a cop why they need, I don't know if he's a police officer or a sheriff.
He's a sheriff. He's sheriff.
Yeah, why they need an MRAP tank. He says, we got a lot of constitutionalists. And does he say gun owners, or did you say constitutionalist stockpiling?
I can't remember if he mentioned gun owners, but he did talk about stockpiling weapons and ammo.
All right, Pete with counter Jade Helm and Keith Johnson of CourageSowers.com. Y'all still on the phones with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Anything y'all want to add to this show before we cut loose? We only got we got 3 minutes left.
You can't go by
the economic tie-in I had in
just be level-headed.
Hey, I'm gonna let Pete go first.
I'm sorry. Just don't automatically assume the worst when you're reading everything on the internet. We know there's disinformation out there. Just be level-headed, and let's monitor these exercises and see what's going to happen.
All right, great. Keith, what you got?
Yeah, I was just going to tie in. When I was talking about the economics, I've also noticed that Raytheon has purchased cyber security. Well, they spent $2 billion, I believe it was. And I've been looking. There's been a lot of ramping up for cybersecurity, and I think that ties in with the economics. That's my concern is if they know the economy is going to crash worldwide, I think they're going to have a bank holiday.
Well,
I can't think of a better reason than have military on the street and ready to go, because the last year of a presidency is always the worst financially. Clinton had the tech crash, Bush had the bubble burst, and things get bad. And this time it's going to be real bad, and that's my concern.
That's a good point you brought up about. I remember when Bush was going out of office, and then all of a sudden, the housing crash happened. Oh no, I'm sorry, the banker bailouts happened. I guess it was the same thing, Freddie and Fannie and the banks and everybody. All of a sudden, everybody's broke, and you're saying to yourself, "God, Lee, look at what happened the last month or so of his presidency, and now this other guy's got to take over." That's a good point, Nathan. What you got?
I just want to bring up, every time one of these, whether you think it's a false flag or it's happens, there's always a drill taking place. 9/11, there was a drill taking place. There was 6 drills taking place during Oklahoma City. During the Boston bombing, DHS was running Operation Urban Shield. And it just goes on. At London 7/7 bombers, they were running a drill. So we need to be very, very vigilant.
Folks, go check out Pete Lentera's Facebook page, Counter Jade Helm, and also Keith Johnson's site, CourageSowers.com. Don't forget to visit TheDailyResistance.com, Metrinair.com, BattleNola.com. Check out the YouTube page. Share the links. Folks, thanks again for tuning in. Next week, Nathan, I don't know what we're tackling. I mean, this is a subject we could just keep going on and on about, and who knows, maybe next week we'll have some more information about this.
Oh, yeah. I commend Pete and Keith because they're doing a fantastic job. Everybody needs to get up off the couch and become a citizen journalist. Pay attention to what's going on in your surrounding areas.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to activate and get motivated and be involved instead of just being spectators on the sideline. They need to get in the game.
And if you have any information or you want to write any kind of articles or you want to participate in the show, please go to battlenolaradio@gmail.com.
Thanks, folks.